Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to the show. Using the Marshall DSL20h today, we're just going to try and dial a really similar tone to a Testament used on the formation of Damnation. A really aggressive, awesome thrash tone, heavy in the bass, rich in the mids. It's just a really cool tone and the DSL does it really well, so let's check it out. Eric Peterson's been using a 5150, the 6L6 version, on all the Testament recordings for years, but the DSL20h just has a really similar vibe to that whole blue channel on the 5150. And I think I do remember that when I was watching the documentary for this years ago when a special CD, DVD came out, and the DVD went into the making of the formation and Damnation in the studio, and I do remember seeing a JCM 2000 DSL in there. I used to have one years ago and I thought it was really cool they were using one on the album. I'm not exactly sure where they used it in the tracking for solos, not 100%, but the DSL20h really dials in to get a great tone with this. So essentially just what's going on with the tone here. The DSL is a fantastic bassline amp, I find. It just works with pedals really well. It's got a really good effects loop. The reverb on this amp is just really good. It's a digital reverb, it's not spring, but I just find that the whole decay, the tail, everything about it, it's just really authentic sounding. It's better than all the guitar amps I've ever had, and it's just, to me, it's a standout feature, so I tend to use it a lot with the DSL, just doing these videos, and it just gives you great ambience. But the reverb's set just before noon, and I find on this album there is a fair bit of ambience, and it's got some huge sounds. And then the resonance control, and usually I used to work this in with the bass control, and just try and manipulate it to really try and get the biggest, fattest bottom end I can without it getting all flabby and horrible to hear. But in recent times, I've just found that backing off the resonance right to nothing and just using the bass control on its own, it maintains its sort of tight feel, but you can really make it sort of bloom and make it sound a lot more authentic with a heavier bottom end. It's a control I've found it's just better off out of the equation with most of the DSL tones. The presence is just backed off slightly, and this is a control that works really well with the treble. You can sort of find a happy medium between the two where you get like a lot of crunch or a lot of attack, or you can just really mellow things out. It's just really powerful for this amp, and they just blend in well together. The rest of the tone stack, I'm just pushing a little bit of mids. The bass is not doing too much, but these are inherently fairly heavy with the bass amp anyway, but we'll get to that in just a tick. And the gain's set to noon, and I just find that's a really good sweet spot for this amp. Anywhere between 11 and 1, you've just got a really good gain that just, it maintains a fair bit of tightness, but it's heavy enough as well that you got some notes that carry, and it works really well with ODs in the front. But and then just a quick overview of the pedals and the effects loop. I've got the MXR Carbon copy, and that's just after the Fort and Zool that's utilising the effects loop, as well as the key in, key through feature. And then just before that, still in the effects loop, we've got the Master Effects PMEQ, and in this I really am just using it as a bass boost for this whole tone. I'm not utilising the mids or the trebles. I'm just really focusing that bass exactly where I want it to get a huge bottom end. And then running through the front end of the amp, we've got the Electric Eye Mud Killer, and this is just a really cool sounding overdrive. We've used it in other videos, and just working with the Marshall DSL, it's a fantastic overdrive, just sounds really good. But this is the overall tone that we've got. It's an awesome thrash tone. I think it's just got all the frequencies where they need to be. It's heavy and chunky enough in the bottom end. It's got the right amount of bit of hair on the top, but I'll just turn off the PMEQ just so you can see how the amp sounds without a little bit of boost in the bass. But I've always said with this amp, just having an OD of some kind in the front, having a bit of EQ going through the effects loop, that's all you need here, and you've just got some absolutely punishing rich tones, but the same tone without the PMEQ engaged. It makes that whole bit of difference with this. If we were to turn that up and just use the bass control and just feed that in, things are going to get a little bit flubby, whereas you can retain it more with the PMEQ in the loop. But I'll just try that. And that actually sounded pretty good there, but I found when I was actually dialing things in and you get to, I just could hear that sort of thubba thubba on the bottom end, and it just seemed to go away when I dialed up the PMEQ in its place. But really you can just turn the bass up, but I think the tone is slightly better with the PMEQ. It really is much of a muchness now to my ears. I can't really pick that too much, but interesting to check out all the same. But outputting the amp, we're going through the 2 notes Torpedo Captor X. I'm actually using the Brit C Vintage Marshall bass cabinet. It's got vintage 30s inside. It's the same one I pretty much always use. I think it's a really great sounding cabinet, and it's a standard you get with the Captor X, and you don't have to buy any special packs. I think all the guitar tones on the Testament albums, especially from Formation and onwards, that Formation, it was just an absolute turning point for the band with Alex Skolnick coming back. They've been an absolutely amazing band, and these tones they're getting on the recent albums, like with Andy Sneap, absolutely crushing, in your face. But Marshall DSL does it every little bit as good as the 5150. We've dialed this tone similar before. I think we did the Brotherhood of the Snake using the 5150, but the DSL does it perfectly, and so many people overlook this amp just because it is affordable, it is cheap, but with the right pedals in front of it and just working it as it should, it's absolutely killer. But Testament's Formation of Damnation, really epic album, lots of fun to play, dig into those riffs. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.